front of in the House, the Congress right now, the Senate Democrats are pushing to say that men and women, if we were to get into a time of a draft, which we had back during Vietnam, both should be drafted into war. Does anyone think that should happen?
That's how the Israeli army operates.
It's true.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't necessarily put them at the front lines.
Well, I think Charlie was speaking about the United States.
I know.
No, but no,
yeah,
you're right.
I'm just
the
kind of
IDF
comparing,
does have it. That's
yeah,
right.
I'm comparing to together. I wouldn't want to personally.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
How about war, no war?
No war.
No.
I can get back to you.
Yeah.
Why are you torn?
I mean, are they going to pass the same physical standards? Because then there'll just be fewer of them because of virtue
they're
of
accommodated.
sexual dimorphism.
They're accommodated for female fitness standards.
When military activity requires less physical strength, that is more sort of hacking and flying drones from a building, perhaps women's military service could be.
But does anyone think that women should be sheltered from the horrors of war and men should lead into the nastiest, ugliest things for society on behalf of society?
I gotta think about it.
It's a big question. It's actively being debated right now. And the reason I ask is because feminism, if it's implemented at its core premise, is they want equal outcomes, but then also equal treatment, which is that if we go to war, women have to go storm Normandy Beach next time too, not just men. Anybody?
I want you guys to answer that question, but let's actually get the answer to, are you a feminist?
I think so.
Okay. Did you answer this? Yes or no? We can just get a yes or no.
Yeah.
I don't know if you answered it. No, not a feminist.
You're not.
Yes.
Yes. A little louder, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not a feminist.
Not a feminist. Charlie, feminist?
Whatever the opposite is, that's what I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I love women, and I think women have a beautiful place to play in society, but especially third-wave feminism is a toxin on society. And I think also the degradation of stay-at-home motherhood has been really, really dangerous and destructive for our society. It should be celebrated as an option for women.
Sure. And back to Charlie's question, so going around the table, so this is something that's currently being contemplated. I think, so my understanding is they're also, instead of men having to register for the selective service, they're just automatically
so that's right. Everyone automatically gets enrolled, male or female.
Male and
included.
female.
Yeah.
And it passed the House, but it goes to the...
Well, they're debating it in the Senate Armed Services Committee, and it very well might pass.
Okay.
Which is I'm just curious what young ladies think of the perspective of maybe having to go into the military.
Yeah. So the
at
question,
a time of war.
Yeah. So the question is, do you think women ought to be drafted or required
or
to,
protected from the draft,
Yeah.
which would be my position.
A lot of conflict going on. So do you think women ought to be subject to forced military conscription, aka the draft, aka the selective service? We'll just go around the
That's the right
table.
way to say it.
What about you?
I wouldn't
Can
say...
you straighten your mic a little bit?
Sure. I wouldn't say that they should.
Perfect.
However, perhaps they have to have a more concrete role in their place either at home or if they choose to serve the country, to do it in a way where it's not at the front lines.
Can I interrupt? But the front lines argument, I think, is a little bit disingenuous because a drone operator is not the front lines, but you could kill more people as a drone operator than being on. So the question is, should we shield women from the ugliest frontline massacre situations that we can imagine?
I would say to reach optimal results, if we're speaking on war, then yes.
Okay.
Yes, women should be drafted?
Yes, we should shield women from the draft.
But I want you also to think, sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead.
beyond results too. Do we have a moral obligation to protect women from bullets, missiles, and artillery shells? It's an interesting question.
I mean, I
Not
think
the missiles. The other stuff I'm fine with, but the missiles, I think they can get the missiles. Go ahead.
I don't think women should be drafted because at the end of the day, it wouldn't really help the war in any much way. Like you said, the drone.
Whoa, that's a really sexist statement of you
No,
to make.
because like I'm making frontline physical, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're saying, oh, should they have a place in the war? Yeah, I feel like if a woman wants to be able to be in the war,
We're
yeah.
talking about force though, right?
Yeah, no force. But if a woman, I feel like they definitely have a role in the war. They're a good, smart, intelligent woman can definitely advance the war for our side. But you shouldn't just draft any and every woman in the terms of equality, you know?
Wait, you shouldn't, in terms of, wouldn't that not be equality then?
Yeah, it wouldn't be equality in terms of a war, but I'm okay with that.
But didn't you say you were a feminist?
Yeah, I said as an easy answer, I'm a feminist. But like he said,
With
there's so
terms
many
and conditions.
Nuance, right?
Yeah, there's so many nuances and so many things with feminism where I don't agree with everything like if he says, are you that type of feminist that he just described? No, of course not.
Wait, the type of feminist that's for
That-
actual equality?
Like the third wave, you mean?
Yeah, I'm not third wave or even second wave to its full extent.
Well,
I'm not,
what about the feminists that in pursuit of equality want women to be drafted? Which is very few, I think, to be honest.
yeah.
It's mostly men that are actually pushing for it in
yeah,
the Democrat
exactly.
Party.
I don't think many women want that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, just sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I don't mean to
absolutely.
interrupt.
No, go ahead.
The women of America are largely silent on this. And for as much people hate Donald Trump, he was the one that said women will never be drafted. But I'm curious if we want to.
Yeah, well, just going around the table, do you think women should be subject to military conscription? That's the original.
I think if they have like like attributes that will proceed, then I think they should. But if it's
Well, it would
not
just be a
gonna-
blanket general draft. So like you're 20, correct?
You're eligible.
You would be eligible for the draft.
yeah, like if I wanted to, then
Not if you wanted to.
but like being forced.
That's what
forced.
happened in Vietnam or World War II. Every person, every able-bodied person. How would you feel about going to war?
I mean, like I wouldn't want to.
Like if we go to
but-
war with Kazakhstan tomorrow, you're there. You're in Kazakhstan.
Yo,
Are you?
I'm Uzbeki.
Oh, okay. Wait, is there
Neighbors.
conflict?
No, it's just funny.
Oh, okay,
It was
alright.
so random.
I don't know. I didn't want to. Anyways.
Yeah, that was pretty politically neutral, I guess.
Sorry, what was that, Nick? You wanted to pull something up? But so, yes in favor of the draft for women or no, not in favor?
I just think if everyone does go to war, then like everyone goes to war.
Okay. What about you?
I look at it from a biological standpoint. Like, if you think about animal husbandry, after war, you tend to need to repopulate, right? You have a lot of death.
Yeah.
So sperm is abundant. Uterus is busy for about a year, a little less, right? So when you do animal husbandry, you tend to need more females than a male. Oddly, we have a 50-50 sex ratio. I don't think anybody really understands why, because it probably shouldn't be. But that said, I think losing uteruses to war death is probably long-term more damaging from a society. So even if you hate men like men, hate women, love women, you probably don't want to sacrifice the uterus people when you're going to need
The
them.
uterus people.
The women, right? Because you're going to need them to repopulate. So I would not like a female draft.
Well, let's assume like the draft, you know, on a micro level, I think that argument makes sense. But on the macro level, what's 50,000? You know? It's not going to.
And you're a pilot. You'd be frontline bombing.
Yeah, yeah.
Just dropping them from
But
above.
let me ask you, would you feel as if it's consistent with your nature to get in a plane and drop bombs?
No, I would not enjoy that. If I was drafted and it was my service, I would do it because I love my country, but I would prefer not to.
Well, there's been an attack.
They
on
had
whatever
female pilots. You know about the
podcast.
night witches in
Oh,
Russia?
yeah, no, there's
We've done it when we've had to, when we as
incredibly
humanity
qualified,
have
but these are largely volunteer. Well, the Russian is not as much, but they have exemptions for their draft.
What do you think on this?
I think it's up to the individual themselves.
No, but okay. So the question is like this would be something that's forced. So okay. So currently, I know you're from Australia. But I suspect there's probably a military draft or conscription
Yeah.
in Australia where they have to register. The men have to register anyways. So in the United States, I assume it's the same in Australia. Men have to register for something called the selective service, which in wartime, if the government opted to, they couldn't find enough soldiers, they could force males to join the war effort, become soldiers. That's strictly men currently, but Congress, the government, they're contemplating making it both men and women. So do you think women should also be subject to potential forced military conscription, aka the draft?
No.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, no. I personally would not want to go to war.
But so that's not the question. You personally wouldn't want to go to war, right?
Yeah.
But speaking in generalities here,
Yeah.
it would, because you're 21, so you would potentially be subject to draft.
Yeah. No.
So women should not. Okay.
I don't really have like an opinion on it. Like, I feel like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't,
if it doesn't, it doesn't.
I'm sorry, you guys are giving the most non-answer answers to this question, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Like,
Okay.
it is what it is.
I don't know what that
Yeah.
means,
I've
but
read in.
okay. All right. What about you?
Yeah.
For the sake of everything being 50-50, then yeah, sure, go
Okay.
for it.
What do you think over here?
I don't think women should be drafted. I mean, I know women aren't necessarily frail, but I know we are a lot weaker than men, especially of same size and stature. I mean, they could beat us at any point in time, unless like we have a gun.
Sure.
Granted, I know in war we probably would. And then I think just the emotional trauma of like seeing somebody killed. It's females
Yeah.
are more emotional than guys are generally, and that would be a lot harder for us to get over.
So, and then I would imagine no one has a problem if the war got really crazy for men being drafted, right?
I mean, just historically,
Right.
men have been the ones who've
So,
always been
so
drafted.
then for those of you that said you were feminists, do you see any inconsistency between saying that you want equality, but you're cool with sending men to run into machine guns to protect your society? Does anyone wrestle with that?
How do you reconcile that? Yeah.